We would like to welcome you to the program today. We have something a little bit different that we're doing. I've shared with you before, I've been working on some things and looking at a lot of different videos from the past and things like that, and looked at one I interviewed of my grandfather a while back, and I was thinking how much stuff I believe that we actually miss that we don't get to pass on. And there's some things that are things that we need to share that we've been through, things in our life we've been through, or sometimes it's just stuff that we have that goes on, and we need to be able to share those things and pass them on to somebody. It's important to each other. But today, here with me in the studio, after pulling multiple phone calls, actually it just took one phone call real quick. It seems like everybody was ready. I have my aunt and uncle here with me today, Kenny and Jeanette, and two people have really touched my life and blessed me and been a blessing to me in my life. And got them here in the studio today. We're going to share some things and talk about some things that might interest you or might not interest you, but we're going to talk about them anyway, and we can.
What you said?
This is my uncle Kenny Dash and my aunt Jeanette, and they're here with us today, and I want to talk to them some. Kenny, we talked about something beforehand, how stories and accounts can be a little different. And I think that's really important now, because I've seen how they, like you said, Papa would tell something, he had one account of it, Harold has one account, Dad has one account, and you have one account. You know what I mean? That's like Dad used to tell that story about how poor y'all was, and didn't have plates and had to draw with a crayon on the table when you ate. And he said that Mama finally told him to shut up and quit telling that. And it's something how it will, but the Bible's full of things, people had different accounts of it. You know what I mean? They sort of look at it, and one would see it, sort of from one way, and one would see a whole lot more in another way.
Yeah, I look at the four Gospels, Luke and John, Matthew. Mm-hmm. All of them have a different account of something. And it's worded different in the Scripture.
Yeah, so we see things a little bit different.
Yeah.
And Jeanette's here with me. Jeanette, you have a deep family history. Okay, we could call that. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of things there that that have been real important. I mean, all the way back to Bradshaw Mountain. Okay, but I mean, all that. But what was your maiden name?
Click.
And who were your parents?
Laura and Reuben.
Laura and Reuben. Mm-hmm. Where were they from?
I think my dad was originally from Harlan, Kentucky, wasn't he, Ken?
Yeah.
That's where he originated from. My mom, I guess, was just from Big Creek Hollow.
Yeah.
Most people were from Big Creek Hollow back then. So. Mountain Fork, yeah.
Sort of migrated around a little bit.
Yeah.
That was
and that actually, I guess, is where they met, really, because we lived at Creta most of the time.
Oh, lived in Creta from Big Creek. Well, that was.
Yeah, we did.
And where did you grow up at?
Well, started out in Creta, ended up kind of on Bradshaw Mountain about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Back in Creta. And then I was 16 when my mom died, so then I moved to War. Met Kenneth.
Yeah. How old was you then?
Well, I was about 17 then, I guess. Yeah. We got married at 18, so I was 18.
That was a whirlwind romance there, wasn't it?
2.5 months.
Well, when you're young like that, a lot of times you didn't know better. You know what I mean? You just
I knew better.
I didn't know something. I've always said that if you look in the Bible how things work, that woman sort of created, when the devil deceived Eve, that God put something secret inside of a woman where they could be tricked. If he didn't, we would never get a wife. You had to have them where you could deceive them and trick them, make them think something. Well, yeah, honey, I'm really something else, But I mean, so you grew up in Creta, lived in Bradshaw Mountain in Weber. What about family in that area? Sisters, brothers?
I still have one sister left. That's all I have, and then I have 2 nephews that we raised. Margaret's be 85 next month, and I guess I'd say I'm the 9th child, and we're the only 2 living actual. But Buddy and Larry were just like brothers, really. But
where's Margaret live at now?
Bradshaw Mountain.
She lives on Bradshaw Mountain.
She's lived there since she was 18.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's what are some memories, Jeanette, when you think about growing up? I mean, what are some things that sort of stand out in your mind that you remember that were things you enjoyed or things you liked?
When we lived on Bradshaw Mountain, we weren't isolated. We lived on a farm, and there were several families. And, of course, I went to a one-room school. And that was like a big family. Ken said, how you know them people? A girl died the other day, and I was saying, I know her. And he said, how you know all these people? I said, Ken, that was a one-room school. Yeah. I mean, we knew all of them. And actually, we had friends out there, and we had a ball team. We wasn't isolated. I mean, we did things, Yeah. You didn't go to movies. You didn't do this or that. We had, we had no electricity, but we had a good time. So, I mean, we did lots of things. And, of course, when I moved back to Coretta, we went to a church, down at the little Baptist church right below my house. So, I mean, I was raised in church, really. I was, so.
It seemed to be at times in our, and I've always been things do change or some things that are different, but I mean, as far as and I don't mean it as entertainment, but as far as what you've done in your life when you talk about going to church, when you grew up, if there wasn't things that you done, but when you went to church was where you socially met.
That's right.
You met people, you met family, you spent time with people that ordinarily it created a family atmosphere also, didn't it?
It did. It really did, and they were really good to us because I guess everybody knew my mother was sickly, and they just had a feeling for us, and they shared a lot of stuff with us and took us places and done things with us. So yeah, it was good.
When she passed, what did she pass away from? Do you know what
we don't really know. We don't know.
Where did she come from? Did you know anything about where she came from?
Not just like I said at Mountain Fork. Really, as far as I know, that's as much as I know.
Yeah. And say it's strange in that area. We don't know sometimes.
I guess we just back then you didn't ask because I was so young back then. Now you would know to ask, like Kenneth and them would, know more about their dad because they were older. But when your dad's young and your mom's young, she was 56 when she died, so you don't find out a lot of stuff, really.
Yeah, it's
being 16 years old, you just try to do what you can do back then.
Yeah. It was well now. What kin was you to Anna?
My sister.
Anna was your sister. Okay. I mean, that's why I remembered her well. I remember Anna growing up, and a lot. I was young, and all those things. I remember all that.
Yeah, she was 2 years older than me.
I remember her. But so when you think about things in life, I guess fond memories. And I'm almost trying to think of things I remember that I enjoyed, things I liked, and try to just think about them some and along those. But when you think about the one-room school, how that wasn't created by the Amish people. It's something they held on to, but it was something that you
learned a lot in the one-room school. I mean, they took time with each individual classes. It was interesting, really. Yeah. And
they showed a lot. Found in Amish country, sharing with them a lot. And they showed how some of the older kids would help with the younger kids, and how they would begin to help each other, and it sort of helped them learn how to serve.
I'm sure.
And how we do that as we go along. Well, when you grow up, then things we look at now that are novelties. When we talk about canning, farming, gardening, things like that, it wasn't a novelty then, was it?
No. I have helped can till 1 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it was hard work.
It was a necessity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't a novelty.
Not really.
Well, children. Do you have any children that I know of? I mean, I don't know if you have any.
Oh, you know one, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I know Lynn's. That was my older cousin Lynn. I heard of it. I can't. I was trying to think of.
Yeah, you're right. Lynn and Kathy and David and Matthew. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big crowd.
Yeah, Lynn works at the bank in Moore. Kathy's a beautician in Cleveland at J.C. Penney's. David works for O.J. Douglas, Mortuary and Welch, and of course Matthew works in Richlands, and he's the fire chief for Moore. So they're kind of all got their own thing going.
Yeah, they sure do.
We're really proud of them. They are all Christians. So.
Lynn seems to be enjoying handling that money, don't she?
Loves
she loves that, just going through and dreaming and holding all that stuff. I can just imagine.
You taught her that, didn't you, Tom?
That's right. The only thing I didn't like about Lynn, and I can just say it because I just feel like you ought to be honest in case I'd fall dead tomorrow, is the problem we run into with Lynn, and I know, Kenny, you never had a situation like this growing up, but when I run into with Lynn was, in school, our names were in alphabetical order, okay? And they would do that. They would call out, okay, they would call out the grades you made. And they would call out Lynn's, and she would have an A+. And then they would call out mine, and I would have a D-. That always bothered me. I don't know about her. I said, but, that thing, she always, she was so smart. I mean, I ain't saying she ain't smart now, but I'm saying she was so smart. Man, school, she seemed like she just would excel and do so good. I mean,
Kathy always resented the fact when she followed her, the teachers would say, I hope you do as well as your sister, which, wasn't right, but
they only done
we've
me like
laughed
that. They would
about
say
that.
as well as your cousin. They done me like that a few times, and they knew I wasn't going to. And they pretty much settled and lowered the bar where I could work things out. They said, well, that's why they put me in trade school when I was in the 9th grade. I'm in 8th grade. No, I was in junior high. They put me in trade school. They knew I wasn't going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a brain surgeon. I pretty much was going to have to work with a hammer.
Well, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, for an old guy.
We're proud of
for an old guy. But I mean, she's so sharp in school. I remember growing up how she really was good at things like that. And,
she is.
And with Kathy and Lynn and David. But I tell you, Matthew come on a little later in life, though, didn't he?
About 9 years later. Yeah, after David.
That was a long spell.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like that was snuck up on you. But he's turned out to be a blessing. He has always had his own tune. Seems like Matthew has. Yeah. He tickled me. He's always had it. I watched some videos of David. I've got some videos that you ought to see of several years ago, him ministering and when we were overseas together, when David was overseas with me. In Jamaica. I got some videos of those things and him singing underneath the tent and doing those things. Really good stuff. He was a blessing.
He's always loved the Lord.
Yeah, and man, he's always been able to sing. Really has. We got a lot of grandchildren. We've got a world of those.
We got 10.
My Lord, that's 10. A lot, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that's got out of hand.
I think we've got 5 boys and 5 girls.
Gee whiz.
I believe.
So if y'all joined the church, you could vote on the pastor and pretty much have control, couldn't you? You'd be able to go right in.
We have one great-grandchild, too.
Yeah.
We can't forget him.
No, you better not.
I better say Cole's name.
Yeah, you better get him in there. Kenny, I tell you, one of the things we've run into a lot, and you and I have seen, growing up, as you share, there's so many things that seem like, I look back on things in my life, and it's so much fun. There's things that seem like, and we always say the same thing. If we would have just known, we would have enjoyed it better. If we would have had, So when we talk about family, Papa, John Colson Dash, is your father, and then Pearl, and then with Grandma. And we talk about, we understand where they came from and how that worked out. And the brothers. A lot of people ask me which one of the brothers I am when they'll see me and Dad. Now, which brother are you? I say, I'm the young one. I said, that's pretty bad, ain't it? But so we talk about brothers, and what do you think in your life when you think about growing up? What are some of the things that stand out in your mind that you remember that you think about? They're fond memories, you know what I mean? Things that you enjoyed.
Well, when I got big enough and to go to my grandmother's, my mother's mother, their house, they had a coal mine, and they sold coal to make a living. My grandfather had got hurt in the mines, and he was no longer able to earn a living, and it was hard. And they mined this coal with a wheelbarrow and a pick and a shovel. And it took 13 wheelbars to make a ton of coal. And I'd go on Saturday down with them and help them fill up. They had a box, a chute that went over the hill, and a box on the bottom that held 5 tons of coal. And we'd fill that box up with coal, roll it out in that wheelbarrow, and my grandmother would slip me 50 cents, and she'd say, you can go to the movies, but don't tell your mother and dad, because Mom and Dad frowned on movies. Mm-hmm. And when that movie is over, you get yourself back up that road home. So I did that, and it was really, something that I didn't get to do at home, and then to be with them, me and Pete Enoch, Vester. They were all my uncles, but we're not too far apart in age, and I enjoyed being with them. I mean, it was a real thrill to get to go and be with them. And Pete had a paper route, and we used to help him deliver papers. You know, it was Welch Daily News, and we'd get a bottle of pop or a candy bar or something, you know, and you didn't see a whole lot of that stuff either. I mean, mom, dad, and 7 children, and dad just worked in the mines and farmed, and at times, you know, you appreciated everything you got, really.
When you think about growing up, now, where did you grow? Where's the first place that you remember actually growing up at as a child? Where do you remember growing up at?
Really, Warrior Mines. I started to school, I believe, in 1942, and me and Eddie were real close. There's about, I think, 18 months between us, and we played together. I remember one time we both got the whooping cough, and the principal of the school, he was also the touring officer, and we were out. If you caught that whooping cough in the spring, why, it stayed till the sap went down in the trees. You would hoop and cough and carry on, and so we were out playing when the principal drove up. So we had an outdoor toilet, about everybody did in that whole coal camp, and we hid behind that toilet till the principal got gone. You know, of course, we probably wouldn't have done anything to us because we were both still
contagious.
Yeah. And then, you know, we had a cousin that was in the Air Force. His name was Douglas Overbay, and he worked at a service station before he went in the Air Force. And when we were playing, one of us would be Douglas Overbay, and the other one would be Roland Clark, the man that owned the service station.
Yeah.
And hey, we had a great childhood, I thought. I mean, I really enjoyed it, you know. And then the war, we could, everybody back then got a Sears Roebuck catalog, and we would look in that catalog at toys, and it would be stamped right across it, not available, because in wartime there wasn't a lot of things that you could buy.
Well, let me ask you, when you think about growing up now, so if you know, the things that we think, and I know there's some things that I don't know if we can fix because it's just the way we think at that point in time in our life. But the things we think are so important, maybe even that Papa, or maybe people that we think were so important, and the other stuff that we remember, if you think back of what it cost nothing. Those things, those memories of the things we done and the time we spend together. But it seems like we can spend so much other time in order to have things that mean nothing, instead of really doing the things that's most important. And I believe that's near the time we talk about spending time together with the family and doing some things and just being with them, versus spending all your time to get things that you think might make somebody happy. You know, because when I hear you talk about the memories and the things that were so important, that touch your heart, that you remember, they weren't what somebody got you or what you done here or stuff like that. But it's something, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, on Sundays, most of the relatives would come to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and we got to see all them, and we played with them and talked to them, and we were a real close family. Cousins was really close, you know. You didn't, they were not someone you seen there once a year or something like that. It was almost every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I can remember my uncle, he lived in a place where the water wasn't good, and he had a well, but he always stopped by my grandmother and grandfather's, and had a glass 5-gallon jug similar to those they use on the fountains and stuff today, and an old rubber hose, and he always put that on Granddad's faucet and filled that old jug up and took 5 gallons of water home every time he come out of that place and went back in it for their drinking water. And just a number of things that I remember, you know, growing up.
You remember what was that up at Warrior Mines that we used to go up there and get water up at that spring up there?
Overflowing well.
Overflowing well. Used to go back. Remember going up there and getting water?
Yeah.
When I was a boy, going up having jugs and go up there and get water and bring it back down. You know, I don't know if anything was wrong with our faucet water. But I remember going up and getting the water, growing up as a boy and things like that.
A lot of people, you know, really liked that. It was red sulfur water, but a lot of people liked it, and it was a thing that Dad said years and years before my time that they played ball up there, and everybody went there and got a drink of water. It was actually a drill hole that they had drilled a sample of coal below there, and the gas pushed the water out. It was like an overflowing well.
Yeah.
And then where Dad and them lived at Rift, there was one, and there was one on the Welch Pineville Road. I know of those three, and I'm sure there was more.
Yeah. You know, it's similar to an artesian well, I guess. But I mean, I think about those things growing up, you know, as a boy. And did you ever? And I don't know if you ever. We used to go swimming at Berwyn Lake when I was a boy, at night. I remember Sonny Ploss going, and I remember going up there. That was a hoot. That was really. That was like a. I mean, that was more important than anything we've ever done. We'd go up and dive off that dock. And I mean, I couldn't have been big as nothing. My dad, I don't know what he was trying to do. I think about those things in your life, you know, and go with Sonny Ploss and him blind as a bat, and it'd be at night. I mean, literally blind. I don't mean he couldn't see well. He was blind. And he would go swimming with us. Yeah. Jump in that water off the dock at night and swim in that lake. I remember that water was so warm. Yeah. I can remember that.
Yeah, we'd swim as long as we wanted to, and then climb back up there and put our clothes on with skinny dipping.
Listen, forever skinny dipping. I never quite understood that. But I never thinking about that. You never swim with your clothes on. You didn't want to get your clothes wet. No. You know, I can remember. And I remember as a boy, it was Sonny Ploss when we go right. I think about Sonny sometimes. I think about, you know, those of you didn't know, Sonny was blind. He could I think he could tell maybe daylight. I don't know.
That's it.
But he would always feel people's faces to find out who they are. You know, I mean, he was a little bit flirtatious, I believe. I remember that growing up, hearing it.
Yeah, he'd feel my arm.
Yeah. But anyway, you know, Sonny there, he was blind, and we'd ride ponies and horses on Sunday. And I remember we would ride to the lake, and Sonny would go with us, riding a horse, blind on the road. And then Dad I would be riding something that would be crazy, and I would always start crying when I got up there. And Dad would take me off my pony, take the bridle off, and put me behind Sonny Ploss, and let me ride back home with him. So I got to thinking about there. Sonny was blind on a horse on a hardtop, and my dad would put me behind him. And I'm not sure if he was trying to make me. It's like calling me Sue, like a boy named Sue. I don't know if he was trying to get rid of me or make me tough. But the memories you think about, you know what I mean? And I think about growing up and in your life and the stuff that stands out in your mind, and the history, how important it is. Yeah. Yeah. Think about children. I mean, I think about, you know, because, you know, I was close with Kathy and Lynn growing up, and with David, but Kathy and Lynn, well, we were the same age, because, you know, Lynn was a lot older than me, but Kathy was a lot younger than me. I think about that. Well, I can't remember those things I can't remember well. But I think about how you grow up with each other. And one of the things that stood out in my mind, and stuff, I cannot remember if y'all ever got me anything for Christmas. You may have had, Jeanette, and I just don't remember. I can't remember things like that. But I do remember on Sunday nights, we would come to the house and watch PTL after church. We would watch Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. We had to get after church. We'd come to the house and have sandwiches and have stuff and watch Jim and Tammy Faye. And that was the biggest highlight. I remember so much. Oh, we just couldn't wait to get there to watch them. You know, to see those things, how that stands out in your mind and stuff like that growing up. And what are some of the things, Ken, when you think about that you've seen? I know a lot has changed, But I mean, really, that has affected you in your heart and your life. What do you think some of the things, the changes that you've seen over the years, just around you?
Well, I've seen wages take such a change. My first job, I made 30 cents an hour, worked 12 hours, make $4. And today, you know, I worked in a garage. So I worked in 3 different dealerships for $60, $65 a week. And now then they get $60, $65 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been such a change there. And same way with clothing. I used to could buy a pair of Wrangler jeans and a jacket to match them for $5, $2.50 for each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been such a great change. Sometimes it's hard to realize and to adjust to the change that has happened, and yet you have no control over it.
Right.
You're just one of the subjects,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I know it seems like it all seems to sometimes equate back to the price of a gallon of milk. It always seems like to me everything goes back. I see how it used to. But when you talk about things that we take for granted now, I think how funny it was growing up. And Jeanette, I know you touched on some of the stuff that we think was a big deal, and then it was a big deal to us then. But how now when you think about popping candy, or think about candy bars, or we think about meals and things we eat now, that we take so much for granted, that we got such a wide choice that we're trying to figure out what to do, when there's times in your life you're thinking, if I just had the necessities. Does that make sense?
We basically don't eat, I guess, a lot like other people. You know, we don't have to have steak every night or all that. We're basically back the way we did, you know, way we were raised, because we like that food.
Yeah.
You have to watch what you eat according to your diet now, but you know, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we eat normal. I mean,
Well, what about growing up? I mean, what are some of the things when you think about growing up? As, you know,
Eating?
Yeah. You know, the things that you didn't get, when you did get, was a big deal.
well, Ken talks about the peanut butter and bread, like they used to have peanut butter sandwiches. I can't remember having peanut butter that much when I grew up, but when I married Kenneth, I mean, that was a normal thing. You got peanut butter sandwiches and had hamburgers, I think, and we didn't, you know, because I guess Dad wasn't working sometimes, but he did work in the mines. When he worked good, but like you said, we canned a lot of stuff, and we done, but we did a lot of just plain eating. I mean, I started cooking about 11 years old and could make biscuits and gravy and all that stuff. And, you know, when I went there, Kenneth's mother and Dad's house, we stayed there about 4 or 5 months when we first got married. They ate differently, you know, but like I said, even now, we have different, but I guess ice cream. We had ice cream at special occasions, you know. But you just didn't have that stuff every day, you know. When you could buy it, it kind of felt good, but like Ken said, we were on such a tight budget when we first got married till, you know, now it does feel pretty good to go down and buy a half-gallon ice cream. You can afford it, you know.
Pick what kind you want, you know. Just,
I mean, he don't buy half a gallon, he buys 2 now. So, you know.
I think growing up as a boy, one of the biggest treats I used to have is we used to, Jim Shelton, and you know, was my neighbors growing up. I grew up with them there, and I think of how his mom had a charge account down at Jimmy Stutzo's down at the beer joint. Had a charge account down there, not for beer, but I mean for grocery. If there would be a charge account, and we would go down there and charge. He would go in and charge things, you know, get pop and 3 Musketeer bars, and we would get a 6-pack of pop and things like that. And I can remember taking those and eating them till we get sick, and knew he's going to get a beating when he got home over it. Because I remember all the time his mama whipping him over it, but we know the whipping was worth getting the candy. And we think about growing up, how and they'd send you to get a 6-pack of pop. It was a big thing. You'd go down to the sweet shop and get a 6-pack of pop, and how in life, when you think about stuff growing up that we sort of thought was something special, you know, and how now it just seems to be, we're so blessed you know.
Well, it's like Kathy says sometimes, do y'all still have hamburgers on Saturday nights? When they were growing up, we had hamburgers and double colas.
RC colas.
RC colas. And we would have that because that was the normal thing on Saturday nights. And most of the time it is still yet. We like hamburgers, and I mean, a lot of times I will do hamburgers. But she says hamburgers and chocolate fudge, you know.
Yeah.
They remember that, you know.
You remember those things along in your life. It's something how that stuff stands back out, and you get to thinking back on things. I know the kids jump on us because we're down to where we really only have one bush left when they were kids. Everything else we've gradually took out. And we got this one tree that's just absolutely in the way right there next to the porch. And every time we say something about cutting that thing down, they just
You don't move
fit.
things. They don't want change.
Yeah, don't change it, you know. And
Can't change that.
we talk about, how long have y'all lived in Warrior Mines? I can't remember anywhere else.
46 years.
In the one
house,
We
yeah.
lived
House, yeah.
We moved 9 times the first 5 years that we were married. And 3 of
This wouldn't
those
pay your rent?
times we
This
lived
Wouldn't pay
Wouldn't pay the
the
rent.
Ken
in
wouldn't pay the
Warrior
rent.
Mines.
How
guess-
many times in Warrior Mines?
3 times, other than the last time
4
that we've
times.
lived. 4.
Well, we're actually 4.
So 46 years of that place you're at, the location you're in now?
Yeah. I think Lynn was 2.5 months, and she's 54 in April.
Yeah, I'm
And,
50. She's 54.
She was sick, and we lived in a little apartment across from a service station, and the doctor wanted us to move out of the upstairs apartment because it was too hot. And we moved up Warrior Mines where Dickie lives now,
Ah,
across from post office.
well.
We've lived there twice, and then we lived where
See, actually, Mom
Wasilewski's
and
lived.
Dad started housekeeping in the house that we live in right now. They rented 2 rooms of that house from a man named Bulger Mead. And they was there for a while, and then they moved over there where Dickie lives now, in that house.
And we lived there
in
too. That was, I
house.
told him that was funny.
And then they 2 houses in that coal camp up there. It was a 3-room house, and we finally outgrew it. It kept
It was 4
adding
rooms.
on, you know, and then we moved in a 4-room house, and Dad lived there as long as they stayed in Warrior.
Bonnie Evans. Tell me something about her. Do you remember her?
Bonnie, she was a Rutherford, her maiden name, and they would always come. Jeanette did her hair on Saturday night, didn't you? And her and her husband would come, and they'd stay hours, you know, after she got her hair fixed, you know, and they became friends of ours till they passed, you know.
Now, Bonnie, let's see, who owned the store?
Nathan Hill.
Nathan Hill owned the store. Was that the store right up next to you all? Who owned the store right up the street up where your mines? Remember the store where the post office is now?
Across from post.
D.V. Cole.
Yeah, one that was right across.
He was the man that built it
Okay.
and ran it for years. He was mayor of War for through, I believe his last term ended in 48.
The one of the gentlemen that ran the cameras in the theater there in the War Theater, Jim Mullins is his name. He's on my Facebook and talk to him all the time. But he ran the cameras in the theater there, where we at the auditorium. He ran the cameras there.
He probably got me and Ken on camera.
I don't think y'all could sit in the upstairs
Jim.
section.
Well,
Mullins,
no, not
Jim
upstairs.
Mullins. He ran.
Yeah, the War Theater, see, was half black and half white.
He ran the cameras right there now where we have the auditorium. Where we brought Brother Holmes. He ran the cameras there.
You had a choice there. You could go upstairs or stay downstairs.
I remember the
They had
grand.
a railing down it. You remember that railing that was down the middle
sure.
there?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to go to the Grand up there when I was a boy growing up. And what was her name that had that?
Bowley's.
Bowley's?
Bob Bowley.
Bowling. And she was so nice, had white hair. I mean, she had white hair. She was always so nice to me. And she would let me, and she'd let us Me and Rocky King, I believe Tim Boyd, we'd go sometime, and sometimes she'd let us in for nothing. She'd let us in. That's when they first had come out with the Nestle's Crunch bar like that, and it had the full wrapper on them. And I remember we used to eat those things till we couldn't hardly stand it. Oh, Lord, I'd eat those. But I remember going to the theater like that growing up. Again, when we think about, all right, so Bonnie Evans, and what about Billy West?
Billy, she was a cousin, but she was closer than that, really. I mean, we were right across in her door, and there's only 16 years between me and Billy's age. Mm-hmm. She was 16 years old when I was born, and I was first grandchild on that side, and she was always special to me, and she always looked out after me. I know I could go to the dime store. She had a job at White's 5 and Dime, and we'd go down there.
Where was it at?
It's downtown War, beside the drugstore, and we'd have a few pennies or something to buy something for Mom for Mother's Day, or for maybe a little Christmas gift or something, and she'd always help us pick out something, and when I got saved, the Lord saved me. I had on clothes that she'd given me of Cheryl's. For years and years, I never did weigh over 122 pounds. I went from like 118 to 122, and she always looked out for us. We were just like her children, really. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, and then we were across the street in her home. Right. They had a TV before anybody else in that area had a TV, and when the hit parade or wrestling or something come on, half of the neighborhood was in her living room watching that TV. And it was a big thing. I mean, man, that was before I ever went to movies, really.
Yeah. I think about her sometimes. I always had that Christmas tree, that silver, or she finally went to a white Christmas tree. I remember growing up as a boy, and I always had plenty of stuff to go there on Christmas and on New Year's sometimes, but always we go through as it makes a circle. Go to Billy's house. You always had to go to Billy's house.
Yeah.
And go there, and I think about Karen Sue, think about Cheryl. I think about them. And it's funny, the people in our life that touch us as we come along in it.
Yeah, she was a person that was very giving. She'd do people's taxes for them, not charge them a dime. I mean, she's just that kind of person.
Yeah.
And
that was, I think about that. Who else do you think, growing up, who do you think of that's touched your life that you can remember? Who are some of the people you can think?
Well, a lot of the people, that I worked for in different businesses, I used to go down to H&B Grocery, which belonged to Pete Hash. Him and
I remember where that was.
I forget what that Elmer Brown was that man's name. They were in partners, and I'd hang around down there and ride the delivery truck, and he'd let me do little things, and on Saturday he'd give me $1, and I was almost there from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, because that's the way all businesses were back then. They opened at 9 in the morning and they didn't close till 9 at night. Mm-hmm. And I stay right with them, And
I remember that store. That's been, Lord, I forgot even where that building was located. Right up a road there, on the curb when you come across the bridge, when they're right there on the corner.
Yeah.
And Hash's. I remember that.
See, that was actually old William Pokey's company store. And then when they closed out and quit mining, why, Hash and Brown bought it, and it was H&B Grocery.
Well,
So before that, there was another man that I remember pretty much. His name was Paul Moore. He owned it before they did, after the company closed it down. I go back a long ways, you know. I mean, I'm 76 years old, and
you think about those things going
I
on.
talked to a lot of the older men and everything in war, and about the history of war. And the first bank was a jail down there, and it was called Citizens Bank.
Well,
And you mentioned Bonnie a few minutes ago. Her dad had a bank account in that. She still had the passbook where he had entered his money. You know, they
yeah.
wrote it out for him, so he knew what he had in that bank.
Yeah.
And
Growing up, what are some of the, you know, how long were you fire chief there at Warren?
I was assistant fire chief, and then I was fire chief for 13 years, and I actually started fighting fires back in the 50s when I started working town. I fought fires for 30 years and enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, it was a thrill to me to go and help, you know, and I was just a fireman for several years, and then I got to be assistant chief under Arthur Barnes.
I was going to ask you. I remember Arthur. I remember that. I don't remember that. I remember him.
Before him was James Johnson, and then there was Bob Brewster. My first job was, when I worked at the service station, was to go blow the siren when they had a fire.
Huh.
I had a siren sitting on top of the jailhouse, and they kept the fire truck in the jail on one side, not in where the cells were or anything, and had a great big switch box on the wall, and you pulled the handle down to start that siren. I blow it 3 times, you know, and then Bob Brewster would come off of the hill, and I would finally I'd start the truck and have it sitting partway out on the street. When he got off the hill, all he had to do was jump in it and tell him where the fire was.
Yeah.
We had the fire phone in the service station, and
That's
the
what I was
people
going to ask,
called
how you
down
would
there.
know.
Yeah. And then eventually, the man I worked for there, Happy Barrett, his name was Wilmer, but they always called him Happy. He was fire chief. And Bert Edwards, the man that ran a funeral home there in war, he was fire chief. And Nathan Hale, he was fire chief. Then it got, after I gave it up, they had the Stutzos, and then Bill Dishman, and now then my son Matthew is in that position.
You ever show you that picture back when you were fire chief then, when we were on the fire department, when I was, and Kenneth Wagner and a whole bunch of us? We had a picture that was cut out of the newspaper that we kept back from years ago. We set that back. That was but somewhere along in that journey there, Wesley Miller used to drive the fire truck sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I remember almost dying. I mean, on the back of that truck. I mean, that's back when you could stand on the back of the truck. I mean,
You could ride the tailboard then.
lose a few people, but I mean, you could stand back there. I can remember my feet coming off the ground, going around War Mountain. And Wes, for some reason, everything he done, you know, he always had to do 100 miles an hour.
Right.
I never understood that. It was just like he would go. I remember my feet coming off the ground, going around them curves, and him slinging that thing, and it was just like it was a. Now, Lord, they wouldn't let you even. I mean, you got to wear a seatbelt.
Me and Jim Stutzo started the English to a fire one Sunday, and we got to Forks Road at Yukon, and we didn't have the big old battery tied down in the truck, and we hit that intersection and blowed 2 tires out on that fire truck and that battery scooted. It threw it out. It went completely across that intersection. I mean, you know, I've had some experiences.
Yeah, I think about that. What are some things you found that were, and I guess you can use the word funny, but I mean that were funny that you run into being fire chief? Some things that stand out in your mind that were a little bit out of the ordinary.
Well, one time we went to Whitaker Ridge, had a fire up there because we were about the only fire department in that area up there. You know, we covered a lot of territory. I had Coldwood, Coretta, Yukons, Buckhannon Dip, Warrior Mines, Excelsiors. Up the road I had plumb to the Virginia line on both sides, and a lot of territory. I went up Whitaker though, and took some of my help with me when I was working for the city. And this fire we went to, they must have had 10,000 rounds of ammunition. And it got to going off, you know, and oh boy, I was around on the pump side running the pumps on the truck, and he come around there and he almost crawled up in my lap. He was afraid, you know. But well, another time we were at, that happened 3 different times that I can recall real quick, you know. Mm-hmm. We were up at Canebrake, and there's a group of men standing in the church door, and we were fighting a fire right straight across from it, and the ammunition began to go off, and there was a big bullet went off, and it went in right in the door facing right above those men. Now you talking about scattering.
Gee.
Now they moved, and then when the Western Auto burned downtown.
That's exactly what I was thinking about when you were talking about that. I remember that.
Yeah, that of course, you know, they kept a big supply of ammunition, and that went off, and I think that really one of the officers was hit with.
That's why I remember somebody getting shot.
I believe the Stanford Guest, the black officer.
Mm-hmm. I remember that when Western Auto burned. I remember the ammunition in that.
Yeah.
Going.
That old fire truck, we were trying to save our building, your dad, myself, and Dad. And I don't know who, I believe it was just the 3 of us up on that roof. But we were on that roof, and it was so cold and the wind blowing till our clothes froze stiff on us. But we were doing all we could do to keep it from burning our building. Mm-hmm. And but when we got down, you just about had to break your clothing off. You know, it was terrible.
Now, how long did you work for the town? Of course, you retired working for the town. I mean, how many years were you working for the
26
town?
26 and a half years.
26 and a half years.
Yeah, I started February the 9th, 1972. Mm-hmm. When I signed on with them. I believe we got, seemed me like it was $172 a month.
Well, I mean, there's no sense in overpaying anybody.
No.
I mean, are they?
But I told them when I retired, I said, you know, I came knowing a few things, but I left with a lot better education than I had when I went there.
Yeah.
And I learned diesel and hydraulics, and I rebuilt a fire truck for them and saved them $22,000.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed those things. Right. I didn't have a whole lot of education, but I could work with my hands, and my mind was good. I could, you know, figure out things.
Well, Dad always said, he made mention of this, he said that you were a little bit aggressive growing up as a young boy. He said that sometimes you would cause altercations that could have been prevented. He said, now that may be, again, that might be his story, you know what I mean, the way he's changing that around. He said growing up, he said you tended to cause altercations between you and other people that could have somewhat been prevented if You just hadn't done it.
I was, young and thought it was my way or the highway, and that old temper could go from 0 to 360 before you could bat your eyes. And I'd hit a man, and I got hit too, but I guess I did cause, problems that shouldn't have never happened.
Yeah, he said, sometimes y'all get in some trouble. He said it sort of said somehow it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, it's all part of growing up.
Thank the Lord we lived through it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a short span, and now people get killed so quick. I'm telling you.
Well, they shoot you down. I think they watch so many of these old movies and stuff, and people are shot and die, and then in the next series, here they are again, and they don't really believe in death. They think, that's just a farce, but it's not. It's when you're dead, you're dead. That's it.
Yeah. Well, when you think about Papa, I mean, what do you think growing up? What are some things that stand out in your mind? Just some memories that you think about Papa working and being there and farming, and as you shared, working in the mines, and what are some things that stand out in your mind?
I learned a lot from him. I mean, he had his way, and when he and Eddie and myself were all in business together, you had to do things his way, and I'd say, Dad, maybe this would be an easier way to do this. He said, no, that's not the way to do it. It's my way. And we never did fall out or nothing over it. But Dad, he was a man that could figure out things, and he was always trying to invent something himself. I've seen several of his little items that he did make, and it was always a pleasure to be with Dad, when I was growing up, a whole lot of the time, he worked in the mines and on the evening shift, and he'd come in and maybe rest a few hours then and get up about 9 o'clock, and him and Granddad had a little old mine, and they would work in it till about time for him to go again. And then in summertime, when it was time to farm, we always grew a lot of vegetables, and he had us, clearing new ground, building fences and piling rocks. We always had chores to do. Every one of us boys had some chore to do every day. And
it's funny how life and the things that stand out in your mind that I think about those things. It's like when I think
he caught me one time. I was hauling brick to make a chimney with at a house he'd built for my aunt, and he's using an old flat bottom sled and a horse, the sled, and I slid these bricks uphill, and I wanted to hurry and get done and go do something else, and he stepped out behind a tree and he said, "Hey boy, don't you like to rest when you're tired?" I said, "Yes sir, I do." He said, "You let my horse rest when he's tired. You quit hitting him with something and making him go on,
Yeah.
But oh boy, I was just interested in getting it done.
Yeah.
I knew I had to do it, but I wanted to do it quick as I could and go do what I wanted to do,
right.
But he never would let us mistreat nothing, and Dad's very tender-hearted. He used to tell us, when he'd have to whip us a little bit, he'd say, "Boys, it hurts me worse than it does you." And I thought, that's the biggest lie you ever told.
It's something, the stuff I remember, and we'll share some more in a little bit, but thinking about how they just touched the life, things that he said to me, along as we go along with me, and things that just touch you, and you hold on to those things.
Yeah.
And remember those things that really make a difference. And I think there's so many people in our life too that sometimes I think it's important to remember people touched us as we come through. And some of them are family, some of them are friends, some of them people we just met that really touches when we think. And like you said, the people you work for.
My kids always wanted to, he sang to them. You remember how he sang to y'all?
Yeah.
And he'd tell you stories, and he'd always say, I'm going to make a tape of that, but he never did. And I mean, Lynn can remember the songs that he sung to her,
Right.
but it would have been good if he had put it all on tape, like he said, and the stories he told them, because he'd get them, y'all right beside of it,
Yeah.
And tell y'all all them stories.
He always, Sunday night,
It's kind of like Eddie. He made up songs, didn't he?
We
Yeah,
had,
and Big Danny same way.
we had a big Bible story book, and he would always read us one story out of that Bible book on Sunday night before we went to bed. And Harold says it was on Saturday night, but that's just like you and I were talking before about the account of things. But it was actually on a Sunday night after service. We got back home, and we were all over him. I mean, seven of us. Most of the time, there was just 5 or 6 of us around.
Wasn't he
him
the
then.
one that ordered all those same books that you all were read from and gave them out in the church? We have one now, just like the ones they were read from.
Yeah. I think stuff stands out in your mind, and it just, like I said, it's important to bring things to remembrance and share them. I tell you what, we'll be back in just a minute. We're going to share some more about some things, and I hope that it's a blessing for you. And if it's not for you, we're enjoying it ourselves here anyway. But if we'd like for you to be blessed, and just want to share some things from the past, but we'll be back in just a minute with a little bit more from my Aunt Jeanette and my Uncle Kenny right here in Tazewell.
I was coming.
All right, we're going to welcome you back today. We're sharing some things from our past, and some things that just some thoughts and things we hope might help you a little bit or be a blessing to you in some way. I'm here with my Uncle Kenny and Aunt Jeanette, and we've been sharing some things. This is sort of part 2 of what we're sharing, and we've sort of opened a can of worms, and we're just trying to stay with it and get with it just a little bit. We talked some, Kenny, and Jeanette brought back more. When we think about the town and think about growing up, I think about Jimmy Stutzo's and Joe Stutzo's being right there side by side. And I think about those, and those were very big, important places growing up in town, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that.
Well, they sold plants in the spring.
Yeah.
They sold groceries and they sold alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, well, Jimmy's was more the beer joint.
Yeah.
And I can remember my Papa Shelton going up there and seeing him. I used to love to go up on the first of the month when he was in there, because when I'd come in, he'd always sit me up on his lap and tell everybody this was his grandson, and he'd reach in that pocket and pull it. He'd always give me the biggest pocket full of change. He'd pull it out there, and I'd get to pick through it and get me some change out. And I'm thinking, it was a beer joint, but I'd always, I'd go right back in there and play the pinball machine and be in there and come back up there and get me something, get a Pepsi or get candy bars or get stuff. And then growing up as a boy, went to Joe Stutzo's all the time. Growing up as a boy, that was a big thing. I still think maybe killed one of my dogs one time. I had a dog, and he gave me some old bologna, and I think that bologna killed that dog. I thought about that for a long time. I had all them dogs named the same. There was Tony, and Tony. But I remember burying them, but I know it was that old bologna I got. But how you grow up and think about that stuff, and it just seems, of course, everything we look back on seems simpler at times. It really does. It's the way we think about it.
Yeah, there we had Judge Mayor and I lived there in that building next to that, and then there was Ben Davis's furniture store,
Right.
the dry cleaners.
Yes, Lord, I remember going there. What was her name? He wore a wig, didn't he? Yeah, he wore a wig. Had a silver wig. I remember going
Mr.
up.
Williams.
Yeah, I was fascinated. Always fascinated by boy. We used to go in there and just sort of stare at that wig he had on. Always real neat and well, nationality though. He talked. He had a real. I can't remember what he was though, but he had a real. He could have just been talking very proper when we thought he was from another place.
He was from a city.
Yeah, it was so him. He was so smooth talking, though. I mean, it was just so flowed right off of his tongue. I used
He
to
broke
remember that.
something on his sewing machine once, you know, because they did alterations and mending too.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought a piece of steel down there to me. He said, "Mr. Dash, could you make this for me?" And he had it drawed out on it, how he wanted it cut out, you know, and all. And I said, "Well, I think I can, Mr. Williams." But I made him a piece for that sewing machine. It was
Yeah.
a big commercial machine.
Right.
But like you said, his speech was, you know,
It was so good.
different, wasn't
Okay,
it?
you know,
Yeah.
we always thought he was from another country because he sounded so good. He was like, well, what was her name? Had the shoe shop.
Bill Pantelli.
Pantelli. That was a big thing. I remember, you know, Pantelli's, you know, and of course his boy went into racing later on. I remember Pantelli.
Yeah.
And I remember him growing up. That was a big thing right there in town that Pantelli's was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can't remember shoe taps, can they?
No.
Sorry about that. They can't remember shoe taps. You remember growing up as when everybody had taps on their shoes and they, I mean, that was a big thing, wasn't it? You
Oh,
would
yeah.
slide. I remember sliding. You would come down that road and you'd slide on them shoe taps. Well, growing up, we'd get shoe taps. Lord,
If you
Lord.
didn't do that, you danced with
We'd
it.
come-
Yeah, you could dance. And
We'd
all.
put them on our shoes, toe and heel.
Yeah.
And the halls in the grade school over there were cement. And it'd sound like a pony
Oh,
coming, you know,
Lord.
click, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes the principal would get after you, you know.
Yeah. Well, we take off running down the street and slide on them shoe taps. When you had to have shoe taps so your shoes wouldn't wear out. You didn't want to
Yeah.
keep them from wearing out. You didn't want them shoes. And now shoes don't hardly wear out like they used to. Seemed like they used to. Your shoes would wear out.
Well, if it come a cold spell and the water froze on a mud puddle or a
Oh,
stream,
man.
why you had to skate, you
That
know.
was nothing like that. I mean, I remember we would go to school, always before school over there at the grade school, you know, you'd be out there sliding in that ice and we'd take off running all this. You just stand in line so you could run the slide.
Yeah, you clear out a place for to slide in
Yeah.
and slide.
What about when we think about over there in Warrior Mines, when we think about that area, what used to be in Shop Holler up that way? We talk about up Shop Holler, and then, what was in those areas up in that way?
Well, see, Old Warrior Coal Company was right at the entrance of the holler, and they had a big motor barn. They had a big carpenter shop. Had a big lamp house for the men that when they come out, to change in and check their lamps. And actually, Shop Holler didn't have all that many houses. I remember Dad and Uncle Liss and Orvin Smith, they bought that property from some people over here in Tazewell County. There's 300 acres in this lot that they bought, and they actually owned all of Shop Holler, and there was probably not more than 12 families, if there was that many, in that whole area. And Dad and them off of Mountain Fork, those people lived on leases from the coal company, from Oga Coal Company, and they decided they were going to mine that up there and move them out of there, and they made them leave. And Dad, my uncle's cousin, began to sell them little plots of ground to build a home on and to live on, and then it became heavily populated. I guess they sold at least 50 or 60 plots, to different ones to build homes on.
Yeah, regular housing development.
Yeah. And my dad typed with 2 fingers, and he typed up the deeds.
Yeah.
They put all the specs on the deeds, the corners and all that.
That's neat, ain't it?
It was something else. I'm telling you.
They think about it. I remember stuff back. I remember when the first copying machine came out, and Mom and Dad had one where they had where we had McDowell Electric, and they would have to make copies. But it was actually, it was a full. It was bigger, a little bigger than a piece of paper, and you cooked it on the stove and made this gel, and you poured the gel in that, and then Mom would type on this piece of paper that looked similar to carbon, and she would lay it on that. And she'd have to lay it on it and let it set, and then she would take it off of it, and then you would lay a piece of paper on that, and it would draw the ink out of that, and the ink would draw to that piece of paper. And then you take that piece of paper and you could lay another one. You could do 4 or 5 pieces of paper, and then you had to recook the gel and take it back. I can remember that like it was yesterday. That was you remember. I remember an air conditioner. We had an old Buick one time, and J.C. Whitney. Dad had got an air conditioner from J.C. Whitney, but it was actually, it's set in the middle and plugged into the 12 volt, and you put ice in it, and it had a fan, and that fan would draw the air around this little center place where you put the ice in, and that was the air conditioner.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I tell you why I remember it, because he would slap me, because I would eat the ice out of that. And I can remember it was worth getting slapped though to get that ice, But I can remember him hitting me across the face and my lips. I remember the feeling like it's yesterday. But he don't eat that ice out of the air conditioner. And I remember lifting it up and get it out and dropping that little lid back down. It's something that's about. Do you think growing up, people that have really touched your life and the stuff you've been through with it, how those memories come back?
Yeah.
And one will lead to another.
Yeah, about all the air conditioning we ever seen was 2 vent windows open and driving down the road 30 miles an hour.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Now they don't even have vent windows on them.
What about doors flying open? They used to fly open all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'd be driving down the road and the door would fly open. I don't know how many times that my dad, twice I can remember as a boy growing up, because my children come out a time or two also growing up, but I mean, I remember going up Rollins Hill up there and going across that railroad tracks, and I was sitting there holding onto the handle, and I remember it coming open in the Chevrolet truck, and I remember it swinging out, and I remember seeing the ground beneath me, and my dad reaching, grabbing me, and jerking me back in. Growing up as a boy. Now, of course, Janice did the same thing with Colson when he was little one time. He pulled the handle, come right out, and was hanging out there, and I remember her pulling him. I said, well, he deserves the same thing I did.
Yeah.
And ride on the tailgate, forever riding on the tailgate of the truck. It was a simple thing then.
Used to, when we was going to school, grade school, why, there was a couple of men that lived in our area that would come in from work just about the time we were getting out of school. We get out there, and they drove real slow. And we would run and catch their back bumper and turn around and sit down on it and ride home on the back of their car, One of them was R.L. Rutherford, and the other one was Mr. Blevins. His name was Eli.
Yeah.
And Wade Lowe. I don't know where you ever knew him or not, but he had an old pickup truck with a homemade wooden bed on it. And he was a night watchman for the city, and he drove real slow, and we'd run to catch his truck and jump up on that bed and sit down,
Yeah, I can remember as a boy always grabbing hold of people's bumpers when it was snowing, coming through town, get hold of their bumper and ride the sled all the way through town down to the other end.
If they were putting empties in for the coal company up there, well, we'd hobo the train too.
Yeah.
I've hoboed the train many time.
I used to hate getting off.
Yeah.
It was so hard to get it. I remember hitting them gravels and getting all scratched up and jumping off that train. I used to love that.
This boy Berwin lost his legs like that. Went on. He was had a great determination. He went on, was selling magazines and made it big. And he come back to war one time with the hand-operated controls in a big convertible Cadillac.
Yeah.
And, it really amazes you sometimes. people don't let handicaps
Yeah.
hold them back. They go on, you know, and excel.
Yeah. Yeah, they is. Jeanette, you weren't real bad about getting on the trains. I know you were a lot
Yeah,
smarter.
I
That's
didn't
probably
ride
where Lynn
trains.
got it from.
Didn't
You
run
were too
trains.
smart. So 46 years, where you all live at now.
Mm-hmm.
Live there now. And it seems like you've been building on that house and doing things for a long time.
Been a while.
Yeah, growing up.
Took a long time.
Yeah, I know. It does, don't it?
He didn't have much money. You heard
Yeah,
him say he didn't have no money.
Yeah. Had to keep working as you went along.
Yeah, I couldn't borrow it from you.
Well, keeping Kenny from making use of all the property right there, that one piece of property, seemed like he's added on.
He's added on, but he could do a little bit.
He could do a little bit. I think it's probably.
It's a
him.
trait. It's a Dash
Yeah,
trait.
it is. Are you bragging or what?
Complaining.
I didn't recognize it there. I couldn't imagine. I think about things that we just sort of make use of what we have sometimes to keep on. You know, I built a little place I've got up there where I live. I mean, I built all on every inch of my property. I said it's just part from McDowell County. It's the way I am.
Well, you know, we were sitting the other night, we was looking, I told Ken, I said, you know, we've really come a long way. You've probably not been up at our house lately. I had invited all y'all up, I think Thanksgiving or Christmas
I
one.
didn't get them
I can't,
invitations.
yeah, you
Other
did.
people get 'em, but
This was, we were going to have everybody, you know, when it all kind of got slowed down, and I had invited everybody up, and not a soul showed up, but my family. That was
somewhere
kind of odd.
Somewhere that invitation must
You
have, you know, I think, well, I would maybe make sure you was really serious about it. I didn't make sure one of them casual.
Well, you
invitations.
used to come after church on Sunday nights.
Yeah, that's because I had to ride with Mom and Dad.
Oh,
but I,
okay.
And PTL was on.
Oh,
If
okay.
PTL was back on, I'd be come.
But anyway, we have done a whole lot. There's some things we'd still like to do, I'm sure, but yeah, it doesn't look too bad right
But
now.
even something that's, you know, at my age, you know, we've been in a building project for over 20 years in our home, and we've just been forever. And we just now actually got. I actually listened to in 1994. Janice was thanking the Lord. I was watching a video for her new kitchen, which it consisted of some new cabinets we put in, and we just actually got a new kitchen now the other day. And she was thanking. I thought it took 20 years. And she's thanking the Lord for a new kitchen again. But how you get into and a while back she started coming up with these ideas at the house she wanted to do. And I said, we're way too old to be doing anything at this house. Let's just enjoy it like it is and live it out and go on.
Well, you find out as you grow older, material things doesn't mean as much as your family, spiritual things. I think that's what means the most to me and Kenneth is our family. And I mean, you know, we talk a lot about that, and a lot of people don't really understand when we talk. They can't figure out why we are all such a close-knit family. I mean, even with you all and the whole clan. But a lot of people don't have family. They don't really care about family, I don't think, anymore as much as...
Well, it takes work to do that.
We do.
Don't you think? I mean, you have to make a conscious effort to get with each other and to...
You know, I talk about my grandchildren calling me, and some people say, well, you know, I don't hear from mine. But now we hear from ours most every day. One of them will call us every day.
But do you think sometimes, and I'm of the nature of this, that I believe that, and I've seen some people that were all alone, and people can't understand why. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you lived your life like a donkey and you not had no consideration for nobody else, just because you're old all of a sudden, don't mean that all of a sudden everybody's just going. Now, somebody that don't know you might come up and give you a fresh slate, but sometimes there's people that will look at people and think, you know, they never show no attention. But see, I think you have to invest in this up front.
Well, I told Ken the other day, I want to be a person that someone has looked at and said, she is a good Christian lady, and have done things for people, still want to do the things that God would have me to do. I mean, that's my desire. And that's
well, when we're
Kenneth's.
talking about that, well, that's like when we're talking about even with Billy West. But let's talk about Gladys. Okay, what's your memories of Gladys?
Well, of course, I knew Gladys, you know, ever since we've been married, soon be 56 years. She died in '99, and she had her little ways about her. She could say little things to you, you know. But I think she loved us all, you know, like Kenneth said, and she lived with Billy.
I've got video with her on it at Brother Hall's meeting I looked at the other day.
Most of her life, I guess, after she gave up her home, didn't she? She lived with Billy. different times. But we took her, the last 3 years of her life, I guess, and we actually took care of her since 95. I would go over and make sure the house was clean and everything for her and do things for her. And even when she got so bad she didn't want to come to our house, we took a baby monitor and put it on top of the refrigerator so we could hear her. And then when she got to falling, we just we took her because I didn't want to see her go to a nursing home.
Right.
And she lived with us till she died.
And what about Mag?
Aunt Mag, she was herself. Ken could probably tell you about Aunt Mag more than I could. She was nice, and I mean we enjoyed Aunt Mag, but I never will forget when I told her I was going to have another baby. Like you said, it was 9 years later. She goes, "You don't need another baby." I said, "Too late now, you know. We're going to have one anyway." And she said, "'Cause they love David."
Yeah.
I mean, I think they thought this child was going to take David's place, you know. And I remember one time she told me not to whip Lynn. And I said, "Listen, she belongs to me. I mean, you know, I could beat her to death if I wanted to, but I didn't. I loved Lynn,
she needed
you know,
whipping a
yeah,
lot.
really." But anyway, Aunt Mag was plain spoken.
Right.
I mean, they were all very plain spoken, really. I guess that's where Kenneth gets his plain spokenness out.
Well,
So-
you know, I think about Gladys. I think about Mag, and
She was very nice. I mean, Aunt Mag was.
Yeah.
We enjoyed them all.
I think about them. I think about them like, you know, I think about them. I think about growing up and being around them and listening to them and things like that. And it's just everybody has their own turn.
They were just part of our family, wasn't they? They lived so close. Still, they were our family.
I said, now weren't they originally in the house beside of Billy?
No.
Okay.
Gladys and
lived the house
Doxy.
below her for a while.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean,
Her
the
and
one-
Aunt Doc.
That's what I mean. Aunt Doc, and
Yeah.
Gladys. I remember them. They were right beside of Billy in that house right there. Yeah, that's. I
Yeah,
remember that.
Billy bought that house over there that she lived in 1940, I believe.
Yeah, I wonder how they got that pool table in the basement. Billy.
Lloyd put that in there.
I remember that. It
was
must have put it
piece
together
by
down
piece,
in there.
wasn't
Yeah,
He did,
it was
the slates and everything.
I remember it was a big thing to get to go up there and see that pool table they had, and that was a somebody that comes to mind. Earl Overbay. What's your thoughts of when you think about growing up with Earl Overbay being around? What are some things that come to mind?
Well, you know, Earl was a very talented man too, and a hard worker. Earl, he loaded coal at Bishop by hand, and he actually, them old hard-toe shoes he wore, the leather was wore completely off of him where he worked down on his knees and his toes dragging the ground, you know, loading that coal. They actually shined, them hard shields in them toes of them shoes.
Yeah.
I can remember things like that about him, and then I prayed beside him at the church. I gave my heart to the Lord in 1964. I believe it was October, and I prayed beside Earl a lot. And the man could pray the most beautiful prayers that you
He had a
ever
real
heard.
voice,
I
didn't
mean,
he?
he was
So-
eloquent with his prayers. And I thought, Lord, mine are so crude and everything, but you know my heart, Lord. I said, Lord, you know my heart. And but he prayed for his family continually.
Yeah.
You know, Lord, save my wife, save my children, you know. And he was a great contributor to the church. He paid for all of the wiring in it when they built it, put it in,
I didn't know that.
and he had a big heart for the church. And he taught Sunday school, and he would start on Sunday evening preparing his lesson for the next Sunday. He really put a lot into it, you know, and I really liked him. I mean, you know, and I worked a little bit for him one time. He was putting a furnace in up at Squire, a coal furnace for a family up there. And he hired me to go up there and work. And I was an old boy in love, I guess, you know, and I just halfway done my work, you know. He'd put me under there to do something under the floor. I might go to sleep or what have you, you know. Like I said, I didn't have no heart in it.
Yeah, I think about him. I think about Honey, but you know they really. It seemed like they're. I don't know if my speech is so rough but she was a beautiful talker too. I mean, her and Earl and both of them. I mean, that when you listen to them, I can remember those things. I can hear their voice, and I can hear her. She sort of look off just a little bit, you know, and then she always has so much consideration. She was so much and tremendous at Christmas and New Year's too. You had to go by their house. Was it Christmas or New Year's?
Christmas.
Most times Christmas.
You go by their house and you make the trip up through there, and the most beautiful Christmas tree, and would have those ornaments that had the bubbles coming up.
Bubble lights. Yeah.
Oh, that was just fascinating. As a boy, you go see those ornaments. I can remember just sitting and looking at that tree. And our house wasn't very big though. You would go through and there wouldn't be much room.
Had a tree all the way to the ceiling.
And Stephen would just be sitting in front of the TV a lot. I remember he would be there. Doug would always be going, but I remember Steve would be there, you know. And I remember going in, and it just was and then going down to the basement, because that a lot of time where the table would be downstairs. Go down those steps, down the little straight down steps, and go down there. And Doug had the train sets growing up. I remember that was a big thing. But I remember Earl, and I remember Honey. I remember how this were a blessing. Then that was so important.
Yeah. Yeah, on Christmas Eve, we always made our rounds. We'd start, you know, maybe at Mom and Dad's, and then from there to y'all's house, and then on to Honey and Earl, and then to Billy's, and Mom and Dad's. And it's just every family member, you know, you went to them, and cousins.
Then we'd finally go home with them.
Yeah, end up
And then
home.
I think y'all come to their house.
Then we'd come. There'd be a place at the end, but I mean, it was something how, and it wasn't actually organized, but it would just fall into place. You'd make your round from Honey and Earl's to Billy's, you know, and everybody. You just sort of make a trip around to everybody's house, and
everybody expected it, really.
You ate everywhere you went.
Yeah. Oh Lord, and Honey and Earl would always have all kinds of candy, and Billy would have a little more stuff, not as much stuff. She'd always have some stuff, but she'd have some things. But it would always, the candy I remember at Honey and Earl's was always, but they touched her life. They always touched my life.
They were big in that stuffed celery. You know, she really prided in her stuffed celery.
Yeah. Oh, that was something.
And Billy was ham rolls.
Yes. It's somehow something that
they all had a specialty, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did. I used to love to hear Karen Sue play the piano.
Yeah.
Man, she could play that piano, couldn't she? She was absolutely just, and she played it so proper. Seemed like, and really could just read that music. And I remember her playing some in church when I was growing up. I remember Karen Sue playing some. I mean, it was just that was so beautiful.
Yeah, she was a pianist for a while, you know.
And she's some other churches, I believe she went on, but she was so beautiful. That piano just seemed like she just played it so precise.
Her mother bought that piano for her. She saved dimes and paid for that piano. Billy always tried to buy the very best. If she bought something, it wasn't something cheap or anything. And the same way with gifts. If she bought you something, it was of the better quality.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about them.
And
I think about them.
She was just that type of person, you know.
I'll tell you somebody, too, that you all were friends with that I know we're all going to miss is John Wargo. I mean, the everything we've done, you know, if I think about him, I mean, that was a man that really cared about people. It seemed like he went out of his way for so many people.
Work all summer in that school, trying to make a better school and have more for the children. And the same way in the community. If one of the neighbors there where we live were doing a job or something, he'd be right there helping.
I remember.
I got the medal for my roof. I guess, was the last thing he helped me do. But he come by and he said, Kenny, you got help to unload that? I said, no, I don't have, John. He said, I'll get you some. And he was gone just a few minutes. Here he come back with 3 men.
Yeah.
You know, and when I did the concrete work, why, he helped me finish the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And if he needed something, a piece to plumb with or a board or something, you know, why, I'd give it to him or he'd give it to me. And there was hardly a day that he wasn't, you know, if it was warm, he could be out. In the summertime, he was on my front porch.
He was there the day before he died. They left, didn't he? That evening.
I just remember growing up. I just remember him so much.
He was very good in this. They were the whole family. They always come.
And when the windows
To us
got
when-
burned out
yeah.
up there, well, he bought them children clothes and everything.
Very good
He's very
in the
giving
community. He was. They were all good in the community.
Yeah.
We live in a real nice community.
Yes, sir. I remember. I think about people in my life, and they're younger than they grew up more with Lynn and I. But I think about David Deal. I miss him. I think about Dave. I mean, he was one
Dave
of
was
my best friends.
A talented man. I seen blocks and stuff, cinder blocks. He laid his dad's house up there. You know, looked professional. I mean, you know, and even when they had the city lunch down there, we called a hole in the wall. You know, he ran that for a while. Him and her. And he built booths, you know, and tables and stuff. And he was a talented boy.
I think about people that I miss, you know, that you know along like that in your life. And you know, I don't know if we could, I guess we could think something about that as we go along. We would figure out what's important and how we really, I've always said if you can just touch a few lives,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I've been around things and I've been at funerals and I've been at places when I don't think nobody missed the person. There's people absolutely that just leave
That's true.
that are not missed, that are just gone. They're
That's
just out there.
sad.
It
That's really
is.
sad.
I think it's because of the life they live sometimes. You know what I mean? When you live that life and you do it and you look up, and because it takes work to really touch a few, and not just a lot of work, but it takes a conscious effort, I guess is the word, doesn't it, when you think about that?
Yeah.
And I think about Nathan Hale, like you said a little while ago. I think about the Hale store and think about Nathan Hale, and I think about them there in that store. And
Their daughter
he
calls
was
me
store
from time to
manager
time.
for Island Creek down there, and then he had that store at home, you know, that he worked in
Yeah.
the evenings and when he wasn't Sundays, when he wasn't working for
Yeah.
them.
I didn't know. Nathan's.
His daughter calls me from time to time. Yeah.
I remember her. Yeah.
Amy.
Yeah, I do. I remember that. Well, now, didn't Effie and them have the store up there near you all too? Also at one time,
Didn't she?
they were in that store.
Effie and Otis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That store right there where the post
Okay.
office is now.
Yeah.
They had that store, but then
He owned that building at one time.
They had a store there. I
Yeah.
remember that.
He owned Joe Hurt building at one time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that though when Effie and them had that store there. I remember they had the store, but those things, I guess you go along. I don't know, Jeanette. When you think about things in your life that have you
can stand up.
things you think maybe you didn't. And I know it's a hard thing to think, but things you maybe would have done, wish you'd have done different or done better, or is there anything?
I would have really liked to finish school, but like I said, at the time I had to quit in 9th grade because I had to help take care of 3 more children at home when my mom was sick, and then she died, so
Yeah.
there was nobody there. Of course, 16 was the age you could quit, so
Yeah.
that was normal. I would have liked to finish school. I believe I could have. I did start out trying to do a GED, and I didn't really feel like I had the teacher that I guess I needed at that time, so
Yeah.
I let it go. I had all my children then, I think. I'm pretty sure I had Matthew. I'm not sure for a fact, but anyway, I did try. I mean, I did, you know. That probably. No, I guess I enjoyed things after I got situated, after my mom died. I worked a little bit. I was a telephone operator when me and Kim was married. I worked for a coffee shop down there where the taxi stand is now for Bill Jaber's mom and dad. And
I didn't know they had that at one time. I didn't know that.
yeah, I worked for them, but we were married at that time, wasn't we? When I worked for them.
Because I remember the Star Store well. Star Store. But
Yeah.
I didn't know they ever had that coffee shop over there.
And Bill was just a little boy, probably 6 years old when I was working there, I think. He come for dinner, every day from school. A lot of them kids come from school back then. But I worked for Jim Turner. I worked for 2 more people. I can't remember their name right off. Joneses and what was Happy's brother, sister's name, Bernice, and someone from over in Aminata area.
Well, do you think maybe if you would have whipped Matthew more when he was small, he would, or you think did you whip him enough?
I think they were all kind of, what do you call?
Beat properly?
Well, not beat properly.
I'm sorry. Properly scolded?
Scolded
nurtured,
properly, yeah.
Loved?
Yeah, loved.
Yeah, I can see that. So you don't think, I know you should have whipped Lynn more.
Yeah.
But Kathy, I can't find no fault in her.
No fault.
No, she's faultless.
Oh, you and Lynn were perfect,
Well,
too, now you got to think of that.
But I hardly ever got beat because I didn't make any mistakes. I was
You just taught them how to do it, didn't you?
Yeah, that was it. I always shared with them. I said, my oldest daughter with Morgan, we never whipped her. She's just too smart. She always could figure you out, And Colson, we beat him regular for everything. We whipped him on the way to church, whipped him at church, whipped him during church. And then I couldn't figure out why he ever wanted to go to church when we always whipped him so much. And then Kelsey, you couldn't catch her because she could run like a deer. She'd always just fly through the air. You couldn't hardly catch her to whip her. And then you'd forget after a while. Talk about it, but when you think about things that you wish you'd have done different, I know there's things in life. I tell you what I wish when I talk about music, and I know that Lynn plays music, but I don't think Kathy.
Kathy plays organ.
She plays the organ.
David plays.
Yeah,
Matthew,
David
he can do drums. He could have probably played the organ had he tried. He knew a little bit of music, but he didn't put himself out there.
I remember Kathy playing the organ. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, don't you remember Lynn played the piano in church,
Lynn. I know
and
Lynn.
Kathy played the organ. Who prayed for him? Brother Byers prayed for him, and anointed their hands. And we had no piano player, organ player, and they started playing.
I wish the thing I wish they would learn how to play some music along, and especially the guitar, because I just love to hold one. And I've started 2 or 3 times, but putting my fingers in the right place and taking time and doing that, it just seems like an awful lot of effort at my age to really do that. And I can't remember where to put my fingers, but I love holding one. But I always admire people who can play music.
I think you have to really want to do these things. When we lived at Cred, I remember this man and woman, we used to go to their house, me and Ina, and I think their names were Wallace's. And I can remember playing part of the piano. And played I've Got a Mansion, and that's as far as I could go. I could get the first notes, but we just didn't pursue it, and I didn't. So there should have been a little talent in there.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out where it all come from. I just couldn't figure out. I don't think I've ever seen you play anything. Did you play any instruments at all?
I'm tone deaf.
I didn't think I'd ever seen.
I can't sing. I can't play.
Well, I was just trying to figure where all this skill would come from. I don't know.
Your dad can.
Yeah, Dad can along. He can, and Dad played the guitar a little bit. He can play the guitar.
He used to play it real well when Mabel was young.
I'm good except me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I got to thinking about them all. They could play, and Leonard could just, them big old fat fingers of his, he could just grab it and put them where. I mean, it was just fascinating about how he could do it. Played the bass, and he could just. He was fast. I hadn't seen Harold do a lot. I never did see him.
He can.
Can he?
And he's practicing now to play the mandolin.
Oh.
He's got him a mandolin, and him and Richard Krieger and
Albert.
Robert Beavers and
Albert
Justice. They all get together on Sunday evening and play.
Man, that's neat. What about, when we, Dickie, when he come back from Michigan that time with the asphalt? I mean, that was a pretty big thing in the whole family's life, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that was that somehow was passed. That was a big thing we had to do.
Yeah, he learned how to do that, him and Harold up there, and come back and bought a bunch of old wore-out equipment. I helped them rebuild it.
Spreader boxes. And,
an old spreader box. They drug behind a truck, and then they went to Pennsylvania or somewhere and bought that little old paver then, and did a lot of jobs all over both states, West Virginia and Virginia too.
Yeah. But it seemed like that family, whenever family does something, everybody was sort of involved in the midst of that, you know.
One time after I retired, I worked with them there for one whole season, you know, and they called us the 5-0 men, you know. Because Leonard, he was with us, and Ed, Harold, Dickie, and myself.
Yeah.
And we'd start at daylight and be there at dark, you know. And
I think the problem with Dad and Harold working together now, when one of them falls, they can't neither one of them help the other one up. You know what I mean? They get around.
Well, your dad amazed me. I mean, even after having the stroke and everything, he'd get up on that roller and run that roller as well as he ever did, you know?
Yeah.
And he's never give up because of that. I mean, you know, it hinders him in ways, but he's never give up.
I never forget it, 6 months before he had the stroke, and one of the things he said is your hand would raise involuntarily. And he would always tell us, he said, you know, sometimes if he'd shut his eyes, he could feel his hand go up. We would always tell him he didn't know what he's talking about. You know, and then come to find out there was one of the things, one of the symptoms of what he had, but his hand just, but no, he never has let off. He still won't.
No.
He won't let off with it.
He told me yesterday, I talked to him, I stopped in there where they building that apartment in that storefront. He said, I don't think I'll build anything else this year. I said, I don't believe I would either. You know.
Every one of them he does, he says that.
Yeah. I knew that wasn't true. He just he's like Dickie. He's got to have a project.
Yeah, and he just always going. Seem like he don't never.
Yeah. They're at it all the time. I mean, you know, Dickie has worked like a Trojan over on that old house, and he's got that old car he's rebuilding, and then he's going to have to put a wall up over there where he's living.
Yeah, he's always got stuff. Kenny, when we think about Mama, with Pearl, with Mama, what are some memories, or what are some things that you, when you think back, what are some things that stand out in your mind?
Mom, you know, money was very limited, but come time to start the school in September, Mom would always have enough money saved back till she could reach you the money for whatever you needed. If you needed a new pair of tennis shoes, and clothes, she was a person that was very thrifty with money, and she would do without herself. My dad would buy a dress or something at the company store and bring it home, and she'd say, "John, you just well take that back." And Mom was talented in a lot of ways, and whatever my dad was doing, my mother would be helping him. I don't care whether it's building a fence or working on the house or whatever. And paint or wallpaper. At one time they was into that wallpaper thing big, you know, and why, she could paper just like Dad could, you know. I remember back years ago, they had an old paint-like stuff called Cow Smile, and people would paint with it, and then they'd try to paper over it, and you'd put that paper up, and be laying in the bed and you hear something go whoosh, and the whole sheet would come down, you know. And but Dad, they could match that paper up, you know, the designs on it and everything, and paint. And Mom loved to paint. Lord, she painted about everything in the house.
Yeah.
And
Well,
she was a cook out of sight. I mean, if she went, she made her cakes just, you know, didn't have cake mix. She didn't. She just take some flour and lard and what have you and mix it. And if she wanted to make a marble cake, she had cold coffee. She'd pour it cold coffee in part of that batter, and she'd have a marble cake. Some of it be white, some of it be colored, you know. And there never was a meal that was served that we didn't have something sweet with it. If it was in the summertime, we had a lot of cobblers. She made a lot of cobblers. We had every berry that bloomed and made a berry. We would have some of it.
Yeah.
And she canned and washed on an old wringer type washer, ironed every pair of pants. I know sometimes with all four of us, she'd have 30, 40 pairs of blue jeans, you know, and ironed a crease in every pair and starched them.
Yeah.
You could stand them things up against the wall.
Well, she was a friend of Patch's too, to patch things, wasn't she?
Oh, Lord, yeah.
I mean, I
yeah.
was thinking about that. I mean, she was.
I got a good whipping over at patching one time. She'd patched my clothes till they wasn't patchable, and there's no pair of blue jeans, bibs, and she cut them off at the knee. And I stepped out there, and the boy next door, he laughed at me, you know, and I down and got me a clod of dirt and hit him in the head with it. And
Aggressive.
he was a whining, crying, come out and said, "What's the matter with Jimmy?" The name of Jimmy Patton. And I said, he laughed at me and I hit him. Come here. She took that switch to them naked legs. But
What about Harold? Now, you know, Dad tells a story about having to put a little rope around Harold's leg because he'd run off all the time. But I mean, is that something that's been embellished, or do you have any recollection of that?
I remember seeing it.
Okay, tell me about it. Let's see if I can get the version.
Harold, he bad to smoke. And my dad, that was a no-no. And he'd catch him smoking, so he just drove a stake up out there in the yard and took a big old grass rope and put it around Harold's ankle and around that stake, tied it off. And he said, "Now, you be right here, you won't be picking up no cigarette ducks. You know, picking up ducks what it's doing."
Yeah.
And it wasn't a real cruel thing or nothing. I mean, he was just trying to make a point. And but he did do that, and that one time's all I ever remember it.
What about the other neighbors? Dad said something about the other neighbor over there that he was bad about running off, and they put a dress on him, or his parents had put a dress on him or something.
Darryl Brooks, yeah. Yeah, he got till that didn't bother Darryl, and he'd be down the bottom playing with that dress on just like he was a lady, you know. And him and Harold fished together a lot. He loved to fish, and Harold did too. Harold was, when we go swimming up the holler to Webb Hole or McElroy or any one of those places that we swam in that stream, he'd, Harold, we know it would be time to go home. You know, we had a time, and you couldn't hardly get Harold out of the water. We called him a water dog. He'd stay right in there till the very last.
You know what, I forgot about Webb Hole. They call him Webb Hole up there. I forgot about that.
And he had McElroy and Right Hole, you know, old Dad Wright.
I remember Right Hole and Webb Hole.
Then Webb Hole.
But then, what was that? The swimming hole called up past Big Creek School. You went up there on the
Blue
right.
Cat.
Blue Cat. Man, that was a real good place to swim.
Yeah.
Had a little beach. It was
Yeah.
sandy and everything like that. Blue Cat had a couple of real deep places right in
Yeah.
there. We used to go up and go swimming all the time.
Right there at that cliff.
Yeah. And
They'd get up on that cliff and dive off.
yeah. I mean, it was a big thing. Go up and go swimming.
Yeah.
I was sharing with them. We used to growing up too. We'd love to ride in the creek, get a car top, hit that creek, and go riding.
Yeah.
That was a real big thing. If you catch a car where you could cut the top off of it, it was ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about Mama, what I think about sometimes, I think about she loved a rummage sale, and she had the original thrift store. And I remember her; she'd always would have a rummage sale
She
Well,
did
she
that for the
gave
church,
all that
didn't
money
she?
to church.
And I can remember she'd have this stuff. Take that masking tape and make them prices, put them prices right on that stuff. All the time she'd open right up there and rummage sale.
She loved people, though. She liked being out where she could talk to people, too. That was her thing, I think.
But they paid for that church with chicken dinners, fried pies, and rummage. It cost $52,000, original price of that church.
Ah. Huh. I remember that.
Got it paid for and invited the president of the bank up there. He wouldn't loan them the money to build it with. Said they couldn't pay it back. And they invited him for the note burning when they burned the note when it was completely paid for. And he said that he had one regret, that he didn't loan them the money, but I guess he was a careful businessman. He was a successful businessman, so. But he was always good to me. I went to him when I was going to buy my house up there, and I said, Mr. Sherritt, you take my car as collateral and let my dad sign for the rest of it, for that house? Sure. He said, I'll have to look at it. I want to look at the timber under it. So I brought him up to the house, let him look at the understructure, and he said, yeah, it's sound. And he said, go down there and tell Mr. Seward to write the thing up. And I did. And at that time, it was heirship property I was buying, and two of them wanted to sell and one didn't, so they held that up for 6 months. And by the time they did get around to selling it to me, why, I'd got a settlement where I broke my leg, and I had some money to pay down on it, and I financed the rest of it for 4 years. And before I got that paid for, I got burned on the other leg and was off from work, and I had that sick and accident insurance on my loan.
Yeah.
So they paid it and my car both.
That worked out real well. Yeah.
Been a lot of ups and downs, but the Lord's seen us through every bit of it.
Yeah. I think the thing you're talking about too, if you'll enjoy the journey, not just keep your eyes on the destination, but if you'll enjoy the journey, and I believe life is a journey. Enjoy people as you go along, take a little time, enjoy them, and take time and do that. Don't try to be efficient with all that, but just enjoy each other a little bit.
That's like, with high school, I quit before I got to high school, last year, junior high school, really. But I went to every school that I could go to, every class, and everything in the automobile industry, I could have went to Detroit and went to Chrysler school up there. John Hurd wanted to send me, and I didn't go, but I went to transmission school. I went to every new car school that I could get in, and every class, every film that I could watch. I really put my all in the mechanic work. I enjoyed it. But
Well, I think the key there, like you're talking about, if you find something you really enjoy doing, and work in that direction, that makes a big difference instead of just finding something that gets you by. And sometimes I know you have to do what you have to do, but if you can take time and find something you really enjoy, it makes learning and the whole thing a whole lot different. What do you think, Jeanette, when you think back about my mom, what memories about Pearl, about
She was really good to us. I mean, she always, I think about that, the times that she would come and help me when I'd have a new baby or something. I mean, and she was a good grandmother. I mean, she kept you all a lot when you had to be kept. And I think you all enjoyed going and staying with them. Him and her both were very good to us, or even to me, I guess, since I didn't have no mom. And so, I mean, I thought a lot of Miss Dash and Mr. Dash. Of course, I always called them that. And, everybody kept saying, well, you need to call her by her name. I said, no, she's, we were taught to not call older people by their names. And so I didn't. But I liked, I remember writing her a letter before she died and told her for Mother's Day one year how I appreciated her having Kenneth. Had it not been for her having him, then I wouldn't have had him at that time. And I do, because they were good Christian people. And Ken's dad and mom took me to church when Ken worked on Sundays, and they were very good. They were very good to us. And the things, I've worked with her at different times and doing different things. So, yeah.
That's good. Well, those are memories that are important. I think what you touched on too is to let people know.
And she taught me a lot, I guess, in ways of cooking. I didn't know certain things. Of course, you learn as you go along anyway. It's all whatever.
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. I remember one time Ken said, "You're not cooking this chicken like Mom's," and I said, "I'm not your mom. You'll just have to go home and eat it. It's all I know. I can't cook exactly like Mom, and nobody else can. Nobody cooks like your mom."
Yeah, the biscuits were the big thing. Mom could make biscuits.
She could make
it seemed
biscuits.
like they were just somehow, it just seemed like those were so good. Lord.
She'd fix that big old pan full, and she'd pat them out and put a little spoonful of bacon grease on top of each one of them, and then what she had left, she'd make a big old round cake out of it, and bake them. Well, I'll tell you, they'd melt in your mouth. But we'd eat as many as we wanted and shit, and always the rest of them would be on top of that old coal stove on the shelf over it, and go back through the day and get them and put jelly on them and peanut butter. I put peanut butter on them. I love peanut butter, and I still love peanut butter.
I think it's nothing better. I bring it in. The peanut butter and crackers is a big thing at the house. I'm big on that. Now I got a certain kind of peanut butter I like. I don't like no crunchy. I like it smooth, and I like that honey roasted. And Janice has to find that for me. And every once in a while she'll bring this natural. She brought this natural peanut butter in. I said, my Lord, I wouldn't put that on a cinder block. I said, you taste that stuff and there's no sugar, there's no
What
nothing.
kind of crackers you use?
I like a Townhouse cracker.
I like Townhouse too, but I like just a regular old soda cracker. Yeah. Saltines.
I really hadn't tried it much. I like the Townhouse. I sleeve them out there, and then my go-to eat about any kind. But I love them Townhouse crackers. I'll put that peanut butter in. I sit it right there, and then I'll eat a little more, and I eat a little more.
You like that other one that's got the veggies in it?
Oh, yeah.
It's made like Townhouse.
Yeah, sort of. I just can't hardly stray away from it. I'm old school when it comes to that kind of thing. I hate to make any kind of a change, and I just stick with the same old stuff.
Okay.
I'm just
Let's
like
be where
that.
Matthew gets his at.
I don't
change.
want to vary or move away from that one.
Matthew, when he was eating egg sandwiches, and he learned to make it in the microwave, and that was his whole diet till he changes to something else, and but he was a lot like that. Whatever he liked, he liked.
Yeah.
One time we missed a couple cans of cake icing, and he was living out there in the apartment over the garage. And we went out there and found 2 empty cans in the trash out there. He ate that cake icing.
Yeah, you should have whipped him more.
Well, the time he buried this little boy up the road in a big thing of sand, and all that was sticking out was this boy's head. We went out and found him, me and Ken did. We said, you best get that boy out of that sand. The boy couldn't move.
Lord. Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We may share some more things with you later on, but we want to share some things, history, real life, and some things. Hope that you might be interested. Hope it somehow it might encourage you. Hope you've got some words of wisdom, and hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Thank you so much for watching.